completing the square for circle equations. Don't panic because it says square and circle. It's not going to be weird geometrically. It really has to do with the equation, so let's move on. Write the equation for the circle represented by this equation in standard form. Pause right there. Standard form of a circle is this. You've seen it. State the center and the radius. Okay, fair enough. So when I'm done with this, it should look like that. Okay, so I need something squared. Now, don't be like, oh, you already have something squared. You have something else squared. Yeah, I hear you. But I need a binomial squared, and I need a binomial squared. Binomial squared with an x, binomial squared with a y, then a number on the other end. There we go. Okay, so let's group this. I'm gonna group these right here. And when I do, I'll look at it and I say, oh, that factors. And this is gonna really become convenient. You're gonna start noticing these patterns. I'll stick with green on this one. X squared plus 4x plus 4 is x plus 2 times x plus 2. And I'll just keep going with it to the next line. X plus 2 times x plus 2. Why would you write that when you really have x plus 2 and it's all squared, right? That's why we have the exponents in the first place, right? Okay, let's switch colors. What color do you want? Purple sounds good to me. There's that one right there. Okay, well, y squared minus 14y plus 49. Okay, well, that's fair enough. That's y minus 7 times y minus 7. Oh, why would we put that when we really have y minus 7 and it's all squared? Now, I've left a few things out. We left out the plus sign that happens between the green and the purple, and the plus sign there, and it equals 1, and that did not change. Okay, so here's what just happened. You took this trinomial and you factored it. Now, there's a phrase we're going to use, and there's the phrase, perfect square trinomial. This trinomial is a perfect square, which, again, doesn't sound normal when we're talking about circles, but from a factoring standpoint, you can factor it into two binomials that are the exact same thing, so just write it squared. Same thing here. This is a trinomial that factors into a binomial, two binomials that are the exact same thing, so it's really that binomial squared. Okay, so we're also going to finally answer the question, and the question in colorful red is that the center is at -2, +7, and the radius is 1, and it is 1 not because I pointed at a 1, but because the square root of 1 is 1. Okay, so here is where we're going with this. We need to gain an understanding of perfect square trinomials. Lucky for us, in this first example, it was given to us, it factored beautifully, but now it's not going to be that way. So we're going to fill in the last term to write a perfect square trinomial for each of these and then factor the trinomial. So what's going to happen, and I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it, there's going to be a blank here. And that's the way I like to do these types of problems. There's going to be a blank, and we're going to fill in that blank with something that will cause this to factor. Okay, so I'm going to make it factor into x and x. Okay, so we're factoring, but we don't even have all our numbers yet. Okay, well, here's what I do know. I do know that by the time I'm done, I want it to be a perfect square trinomial, meaning it is a 3-termer, don't know the third term yet, that factored into 2 terms squared. If you want to go ahead and put this for all of them, you can. I'm not going to do it yet. We're going to just keep finagling with this one. X squared plus 6x plus something, and clearly x times x gives me x squared. Well, this times this will give me that, but it will add to give me 6. Well, what two numbers will add to give me 6 if they're the exact same number, right? Take half of 6. It must be 3, and it must be 3, so I'm going to put a 3. Well, that's great. I still haven't filled in my blank. And I think at this point it's going to be pretty straightforward. So 3 times 3, 9. Okay, let's move down. All right, if you want to skip the step where you write the binomial twice, feel free. I'm going to put it. Two numbers multiply together to give me this blank, but they add together to give me a -6. They have to be the exact same number. So I could say, oh, -4 and -2. Yeah, that adds to give me -6, but they have to be the same number because we're going to have a binomial squared. So two numbers add to give me 6 has to be 3 and 3, but it's -6, so -3 and -3. So there it is, which makes this a 9 because 3 times 3, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. This is always going to be a plus regardless of your signs over here, unless you're playing with imaginary numbers, which will not happen. Sad though, that would be fun. Okay, I'm going to write too much. If you want to start skipping steps, you may. X and X and X. Two numbers multiply to give me this blank. They add together to give me negative 10. They have to be the exact same thing. At this point, I hope you've noticed a pattern. Take half of that number. There it is. Okay, well then what goes in the blank? 5 times 5. Negative 5 times negative 5, technically, still 25. All right, so many years ago, I had a phrase that I used that helped my students remember what to do here. I'm going to separate these problems because it just gets jumbled if I don't. I had a phrase that I used to help students memorize this, and it was part of a larger work of art. It was a math song, and it was a rap. And it was, the phrase was, take the number with your x, then you half it and square it. And that's how you'll fill this in. So here goes. To get this 9, you first got this 3 by saying, oh, well, I would add 2 things and get a 6. Well, it has to be 3 and 3 because they have to be the same. That's half of 6. Square the 3, get a 9. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. Square the negative 3, get a 9. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. Square the negative 5, get 25. So I'm going to write that down. Write it if you need to. Take half of the coefficient of the x term. That's going to be the linear term. Then square it. That's it. Now, it wasn't the lyrics to the song. The lyrics to the song, again, was it was a line from a longer math song that I had used. And it was about solving quadratic equations by completing the square, which is in a different course now. And no, I'm not going to rap the entire thing or sing it. It was rap during the verses and then singing in the chorus, and it was wonderful. It was a hit, but that was a generation ago, so let's move on. Okay, take the number with your, I'm going to take the number with my x, then I half it and square it. I'm the kind of students little homies want to be like with my nose in a book, working hard till I get it right. Been spending most of our lives living in quadratic paradise. That's what it was. Okay, take half of 20, it's 10, square it. So 20 divided by 2, don't write this if you don't want to, you get 10, and then you're going to square your 10, you're going to get 100. So 100, and then x plus 10, x plus 10, x plus 10. If you want to start skipping this step and you haven't done so yet, feel free. Okay, take half of negative 12, then square it. I like to kind of separate those thoughts because I don't want to just square because then it wouldn't equal this side that you already wrote. But negative 6 squared, 36. 36, and that is equal to, let's skip a step, x 6 negative 6. Okay, this is going to become very automatic for you. At this point, I hope it is, so take the number with your x, then you half it and square it. I'll take the number with my x, then I half it, square it. I'm the kind of student little homies want to be like, with my nose in a book, working hard till I get it right. Take the number with your x, then you half it and square it. And don't be afraid of fractions. Some people would grab that in a calculator and be like, oh, 6.25, I'm cool with that. I don't like that, but it's not going to hurt anybody. It's a little painful. That's a 1. Half it. Square it. Bop it. Pull it. Twist it. Take the number with your x, then you half it and square it. It's going to give you 49 over 4. And then take the number with your x, then you half it and square it. Been spending most our lives. I said I wasn't going to sing it or rap it, and there I go doing it. Well, I'm not going to do the whole song. I don't remember all the lyrics. Although I could teach that lesson if you wanted. I guess not. Okay, let's factor each of these. I'm going to skip a step. You can see where this is going. All right. X, 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 X. That's the easy part. All right, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Notice that you followed the sign in the middle here. Positive, negative, negative. So plus, okay, what's that last number? Two numbers multiplied to give me 1. It has to be 1. Two numbers multiplied to give me 25/4. Whoa, what? No. Don't make it harder than it is. Square root of 9 was 3. Square root of 25/4, you're already looking at it. It was half of that middle number anyway. So it's 5/2, and it was positive. Half of 1 is 1/2. For real, the square root of 1/4 would take you back here. We doodled the work. There it is. Half of -7 is -7/2. That's why I prefer fractions in this. Half of -3 is -3/2, because the square root of 9/4 is the square root of 9, square root of 4, follow that middle sign.